Hello, Playdate. This is Dawn.
This is Nick.
And I'm Ryan. This week we're covering Playdate news
Recent indie releases.
and watching Nick step up to the plate in the absence of Dawn. If it wasn't painfully apparent, Dawn is not with us today. Dawn, we're very sorry you're not here. We miss you dearly. Let's see how many minutes of Playdate Nick played this week. Thanks for listening. Let's get started.
You may have noticed a Ryan-shaped Dawn impersonator in that intro.
That
Thanks
that
for.
means that means you're gonna have to be on fire this week, Nick. You have
Is that what it
all the
means?
pressure on
Oh
you
no.
of being a put together show host, just like
Hmm.
Donathan. And in his absence, you'll have to attempt to bridle my boops. Good luck with that. And why don't we get started with the heebity beep beep beepity skip skillity doop boobity boop 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 news and notes. Ah, no editing this time. We are going to talk about the fact that we don't number our episodes, but I number them in my heart still. And this episode is episode number 60. We hit another milestone. And on this milestone, we are talking about the fact that you have 48 hours left to order your very own Hello Playdate podcast t-shirt. Uh,
Ryan, wait a minute.
yes. Yeah.
I'm curious.
Hmm.
What happens if they don't pre-order a podcast t-shirt within the next 48 hours?
Not a whole lot. You just pretty much don't get a shirt. We will not
Okay,
cast judgment.
good.
You do not have to purchase one. It's not a requisite for listening.
Excellent.
I mean, go take a look at these things. I think they're pretty boss, as the kids like to say, right?
Hey Ryan,
So yeah.
another quick question. Who is the artist? Who illustrated this shirt?
Oh, pish tosh, you make me blush. I arted this thing. It's our podcast logo, our new podcast logo, and it's going to be on a t-shirt for anybody who wants to pre-order. The pre-order link is in the show notes for today's episode, assuming that we can figure out show notes in the absence of Dawn. And essentially, shirts are $30. Couple few more bucks, $5 more for some larger sizes like 2X and 3X. We go all the way up there. Let's see. Oh, we had a really fun discussion about printing processes and screen printing inks last time. Should we revisit that? Do you want to talk about that, Nick? Do you have any
I think
questions about water-based ink versus plastisol ink?
I do have one question.
I want to hear it.
And that is, did you hear our last episode where we had a 45-minute discussion on water-based versus plastisol ink?
Well, since I
Um,
don't listen to our episodes, probably not. But basically, these shirts are going to be the most deluxe shirts that you will ever wear. It will feel like clouds on your body. The water-based ink does not feel plasticky. Once you wash this shirt, ooh, it's just going to feel like there's only shirt on your body and that's it. This is a new to me printing technology. I outlined it last time, and just to keep Nick happy with me this episode, I won't go into it again. But
you said it's an inkjet printer, right?
no, not
Like
an
a
inkjet.
1990s inkjet printer?
No, it's not iron on. It's not an inkjet.
Oh, it's
It's
dot
not
matrix.
traditional. Oh my God, you got me. Okay, so yeah, water-based ink, the latest and greatest technology that makes you feel like you're wallowing in butter all day long. And that's how our t-shirts are going to be printed.
That's your comparison? Okay.
In addition to butter wallowing comfort, we're also going to be including a deluxe. We don't do anything that's not deluxe around here. Vinyl screen printed sticker along with this t-shirt. So if you thought that t-shirt was a good deal, and boy howdy do I ever, uh, now you're getting this wonderful sticker that Nick is putting on my Zoom screen that nobody can see, but boy howdy does it ever look deluxe. It's die cut shape of the artwork. It's full color and it lasts a very long time. I've put these stickers on the outside of cars and they last for years and years. All that to say, toss them on your designer tumbler, put them in the dishwasher, put them on your car, put it on your guitar case, put them on the back of your Playdate for all we care. But wherever you stick them, they are going to be holding their stickerness for a good long while, and that will come with your t-shirt. So if we didn't make this clear, pre-orders are available through July 4th. That's 48 more hours. So at the end of July 4th, then you can no longer purchase these shirts because we're only printing the amount that people pre-order, and that's it. So this is your very last chance, 48 hours. Nick, should I say that a few more times?
I think the message is known. So
Okay, fine. I'll let you off the hook. Now that we're done with the self-serving portion of the news and notes, let's get into the real nitty-gritty, the meaty portion, or the vegetarian portion, if you so prefer. Next up, we have a Playdate Squad community census coming up here. Nicholas Cornelius Baldridge, did you know about this? Or am I telling you about it for the very first time?
I completed it already. Have you done
Me
so?
too. Oh, I thought I was going to best you on that.
Twins.
I saw it yesterday and I thought, oh boy, I'm going to be able to hang this over someone's head. Evidently not. I'm glad you did. And dear listener, don't you forget to look in the show notes of today's episode and find the link to the Google Forms where you can fill out that Playdate Squad community census. Nicholas, I filled that out, and let's discuss forms. So when I filled this out, I was surprised at the amount of depth that they went into in terms of question. It was like 11 pages of questions. It didn't take super long, maybe 5 or 10 minutes or something. So brace yourself minorly for that much time. But they are interested in things like when you got your Playdate, different versions of Playdates, trying to get to the bottom of the variety of versions of Playdates that exist out there. Let's see, what were some other questions they were asking? And they were also mentioning that they're going to make this information public when it's all done. So we'll have another several minutes of our future podcast taken care of for us when that happens. And I think that this stuff is really interesting with regard to, I don't know, I'm a stats guy. I love understanding statistics better and how that can inform choices for strategic moves forward, whether that's in a personal business or in a hobby. Like, how do we know what playdates are out there and how are they different and what are people's interests and choices? Oh, P.S. There were also, I should stop talking and let you say something too. I swear I will. But they were also asking about people's thoughts regarding a subsequent season of games. So like, would you be interested in a season 2? Would you be interested in a 12 game, a 24 game? How much would you be willing to pay for such things? And maybe we can stir some pots and talk about our answers for that. So I just talked a lot and I want to hear all about your thoughts about the Playdate Squad community census. Nick Baldridge. Break.
I seem to recall the last community census, which was a couple of years ago. Is that how long ago it was?
I think that is what they mentioned it was. It was a couple of years since the last one.
It was very in depth as well. So it didn't surprise me that this was 11 pages. It actually went a lot quicker than the last one that I remember doing, but it's been a while. So memory is a funny thing. The other thing that they were asking about was the Playdate wiki and if it was used and how frequently, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool to see. It will be kind of cool to see the results of this and how the community is using or not using things. There were questions about the use of catalog, whether it's primarily used on the web or on device. I know for myself, I use it almost 100% of the time on the web. I almost never use it on device.
Oh, but Nicholas, you're missing out on the crank to buy.
Yes, I have problems with the crank to buy, which is partly why I don't do it.
What? I am like the biggest Luddite among us, and this thing just always works for it. Why are you having difficulty so much?
I did not do the really in-depth work of pulling out serial numbers and all that kind of thing. I completed it on my lunch break, so I was not near any of that information. But you do have the ability to go back and change your answers for a period of time. I'm guessing until they lock the survey. So if you haven't done that part, you can always go back and complete it later on. which is my hopeful plan at the moment.
Indeed. So I would agree with some things that you said. You said the process went faster than you expected. I agree. And one of the reasons I think the process went faster than I expected was that a lot of the questions that had more in-depth answers associated with them were accompanied by some really helpful links. Like, if you don't know how much you purchased on catalog, here is a link to play.date slash whatever the heck it was, history, or I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, here's a handy link that you can go check your catalog stats. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know that existed, and the link allowed me to go there instead of leaving it blank. There are a number of those, but yes, agreed. I did not do the serial number part, but all the rest of it, I pretty much did.
Complete that census.
Indeed. Link in the show notes for today's episode, as with all our heebie-boop notes and newses. So let's get on to Pixel Ghost, who shares a Shadowgate devlog that outlines the inventory management system. This is beyond my comprehension because it deals with code, but I know we've got a lot of devs who listen to this show. Nicholas, you have a bigger brain than I do, so perhaps you've read through this and understand it better, but I thought we'd better include this for folks who might get their fancies tickled about reading through something like this. Did you have a chance to read this, Nick? It's okay if you didn't.
I
He's
did.
reading it right now.
I'm rereading it now.
In the past 5 seconds.
I'm a huge Shadowgate fan, and I've been eagerly awaiting Shadowgate PD, so I'm devouring these kinds of updates. Thank you, Pixel Ghost, for producing them. So the short form of this is that Pixel Ghost is trying to make a cool inventory system that works more similarly to the Mac version than the NES version. The NES version essentially had a notepad list where one line item was a single item. The Mac version had more of an icon based inventory, and so he goes into a bit about how the items are structured within Pulp and how the dynamic aspect of the inventory space is taken up. So each item takes a certain number of spaces in the grid-based system of the Playdate screen, and explaining how that's all done within Pulp is the basic concept of this devlog. Very cool. So looking forward to it even more.
Right on. Okay. Let's see if I can do less editing on this next news and note, which is the fact that Cheyenne McDonald is at it again. That is our favorite reporter over at Engadget, who likes to talk about the Playdate. This time, she mentions that Touch Egg is the most ridiculous Playdate game I've tried yet, and I'm hooked. Again, this was the game that we were flipping out about those animated GIFs for. You got a big old finger. It's poking an egg all across the screen. I believe this is available on catalog, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, it is.
$1.
$1 on catalog. My goodness, why have I not purchased this yet? So, anyhow, if you want to know more about what Cheyenne thinks about this game, you can head over to the link in the show notes to the Engadget article she wrote. Nick, any thoughts?
Very cool to have the Playdate highlighted like this, and yeah, it's exciting to see continued coverage like this. And Touch Egg is also great looking. Haven't played it yet, but looks amazing.
Cool. Well, I should have put this one news and note back so that we could group these, because Ray, developer of the games First in Line and the upcoming Robot Rally, has a devlog on coding exit animations to make quitting your game as fun as launching it. I thought this was a really cool focus on some final spit and polish of Playdate games. Again, this is very developer focused, but as an artist, I really enjoyed this attention to detail. Um, so I hope that developers will take a look at this, read through it, because I think that Ray makes a really good point here that these exit animations can really make your game feel more finished. So, Ray, thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
And if anybody would like to take a look, you know where to find that. Link in the show notes. Today's episode.
I would totally agree with that idea, because it is a lot more fluid to watch an animation as you return back to a menu than having the Playdate sit with a black or white screen for a few seconds while that happens. So cool.
Cool. All right. And finally, Nick, I don't know if you saw this or not. Maybe I'm late to the party, but it appears as though Panic has switched factories. I saw this come up on the tweeters and it says, here's a great milestone. It's the first Playdate off the line at our brand new factory in Malaysia. Switching factories was not exactly quote unquote fun, but this team is really great and we're really excited to be making things with them. And it is accompanied with a photograph of a bunch of team members from the factory in Malaysia. Um, so I was not aware of this, and I actually reached out to a contact I have at Panic, but have not heard back yet, asking for some more information. I have not heard anything yet. Maybe I'll hear something by the time our next episode airs. In the meantime, Nick, did you hear about this, or is this news to you too?
I heard about it in the email that they sent with the latest Playdate news. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware that they were switching factories. I don't think they'd announced that, but very cool. That's a huge undertaking, no matter what you're manufacturing, and very impressive that they already have it up and running, and Playdates are coming off the line. Very cool.
Yeah, I have so many questions. Like, I thought they were in cahoots with Teenage Engineering. Is that not the manufacturer, or is that somebody who was helping
Mm,
them develop the Playdate?
They helped them develop it, so they helped build the synth hardware, and I
Mm,
believe uh, the the case and some other cosmetic features. Maybe the crank. I don't know exactly what their contributions were, but Teenage Engineering is known for various hardware and particularly sound focused hardware. So they are not the manufacturer. The manufacturer was Panic through a different factory in Malaysia, I believe, previously.
yes, you know what? You're right. I'm starting to read through some of these comments on that post, and one of them says, can you disclose where it was being produced before? And Playdate says the previous factory was also in Malaysia. And in parentheses, they put the factory name, Sungai Petani. And somebody also says, can that factory send me a new crank handle? I'm desperate. And Playdate responds, ooh, this is interesting. It said, we just happen to have just made some little crank handle repair kits. They're even at our
Hmm,
they're even at our fulfillment warehouse right now. Reach out to support. Ah, very cool. So if
that
you've
is
got a
cool.
busted crank, sounds like you need to reach out to support. They've got some crank handle repair kits. That is really lovely. Cool.
That is.
Go Panic and Playdate.
Yeah,
Right
very
on.
cool. Do you have
Oh,
any crank issues, Ryan?
no, in fact, that was another question that they asked on the Playdate Squad community census is
Hmm.
what issues do you have? And there was this laundry list of things that could potentially happen.
Hmm.
The only thing that's going on with mine is, and I wouldn't have even thought to look at this on mine, but the crank handle is has some minor discoloring. Mine's getting a
Hmm.
little blackish, but man, it doesn't bother me in the least. So that was the only box I was able to check, but they went down a litany of things that could be wrong with your Playdate, from cracking cases to buttons cracking to non-functioning buttons to what was this thing you just mentioned? Oh, the crank handle breaking. So that hasn't happened to me, but I've heard a rare instance where it has happened. So hopefully this helps a few people out.
Yeah, I don't know how widespread any of that is, and my crank issue is just that the little yellow knob at the end is a little tiny bit loose, um, and that's the only problem in quotation marks um, that I've experienced with my launch Playdate, first group Playdate. So, as with any issue with a manufactured product, I suspect, but have absolutely no knowledge, that only a small subset would be impacted by any of those potential problems. Um, and unless there's like some widespread issue, and I think if there were, we would probably all be aware of it in the
Yeah.
enthusiast community.
Yep. Totally.
So, anyway, all that to say, that's not to shine a light on problems. That's to point out that things are rarely impactful to everyone with a particular manufactured product, especially one as complex as the Playdate. Does that make sense?
Wait, what do you mean?
Meaning that.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so here we go. I think that ends our news and notes
Okay.
section.
All right.
And that brings us to our indie Scooby Boop Boop Boo inventory. And
I'm sorry, I lost my place. Where are we?
Without Don here, you guys are gonna hear all that. So
Until I get my editing power here.
Oh, no. With Dad gone, the kids are going to play today. Okay, so moving on to the end of the inventory, we are starting things off with. How do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Do you want me to do it? Should we take turns?
Sure, I can roll through this.
Okay. Hurry
the
up.
first, I believe, was added by Don.
Ooh.
Not sure. It's called Ouroboros, and the Ouroboros is the snake that's eating its own tail. And in this game, you control a snake, and your objective is to make it bite the tip of its own tail. However, of course, the tail moves whenever you move, and there's plenty of obstacles, including the rest of your snake's body. And there are 50 mind-bending puzzles. Lots of cool features. Looks really fun. I like the concept. This was developed by a developer called Aardvark Soup, and it is name your own price. This was Ouroboros. Next up is...
You know how I like a snake game.
I do know that, Ryan, and that's why we're moving on to the Swedish Sound. The Swedish Sound was developed by John Topilski, and it is free for all. I added this one because it's described as a short Playdate pulp game about attending a party in space and remembering names. We've all been there. This sounds delightful, so I'm looking forward to trying it.
It also looks delightful. Man, this looks like a really... Okay, so it feels a little pulpy with the very small sprites, but it's got some, like, I don't know, some personal zhuzh going on here with, like, the circular spaceships and the blasts coming out, and even the surrounding terrain elements for the blocky overhead scenes. Like, man, this looks really fantastic, especially for a pulp game.
Great work.
Yeah, and I'm excited.
John Topilski.
What the heck?
That
downloading
game again,
right now.
The Swedish Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available on itch. Okay, next up. Radio Truck. Ryan, are you ready to be the Radio Truck?
Yes.
Okay, this is a chill exploration game, everybody. See the sights, visit the radio stations, and collect bumper stickers. There's no time limit or health bar, so you can explore the world and its inhabitants at your own pace. Ryan, this was developed by RabCTY or Rab City, and it is $2 or more. And it's available on itch.
You stopped short on that description, my friend. We got to talk about the A and B button. What do those do?
Okay. Well, Ryan, I'm glad you asked. Not only can you use the D-pad to move, but you can press the A button to honk your horn,
Yes.
and you can press the B button to view bumper stickers.
Almost as
Um,
good.
this, I've got to say, is exactly my type of game. So I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to playing this game. It's called Radio Truck, and it is $2 on
That's
itch.
fantastic. Very cool.
Ryan,
Yes. Uh-huh.
it's scary outside at night.
I mean, I
And
know
so
this, and you know this.
you've got to survive the night. Survive the
Ah.
Night is the first ever game developed by Irakel, and it was created in Lua for the Playdate.
Hmm.
Um, here's the deal. You're out in the woods camping, a place where we both often are, all alone. Just as darkness falls, your flashlight dies. You hear noises in the darkness of the woods. Luckily, your flashlight has a hand crank, and the thing lurking in the dark is allergic to light. Your goal? Use the crank on your playdate to keep the monster at bay. Choose between surviving for 60 seconds in 3 different difficulties, or survive for as long as you possibly can in survival mode. Ryan, are you interested in this kind of survival horror game?
I'm really interested in understanding how this works because from the description it says you've got a flashlight, it functions via crank, and keep your flashlight going. So are you just wailing on the crank the whole time? I'm guessing there's got to be some uh you know monkey wrench thrown in there so you're not just doing a big old twirl the whole time until 60 seconds elapses.
Excellent question. Have not played, don't know, but it looks really fun. So I'm curious to see what it's all about. Do you have to crank at a steady speed that is, a particular RPM, or is there some kind of issue with the crankable flashlight where it will automatically go out for a certain number of seconds after cranking for a certain number of seconds?
Or maybe your
These are
flashlight
all
wears
excellent questions.
down. So you have to do
Yeah.
2 RPMs first and then up to 4. And then, whoa,
Uh,
golly. Think about how that could get wild real fast. Hmm.
yeah. Once you get up to 256, it's going to be a real problem for you.
I, I,
So
I tell you what, I downloaded this game as we've been
you did?
speaking, but I also downloaded every single game that we've been talking about so far.
Well, they all
So,
look so good.
totally. So we'll see
All
if
right.
I can get to this by the time we talk next.
This game again, Survive the Night by Irakel, and it is Name Your Own Price on itch. Okay, next up, Electrolyte.
Mm.
And this game, Ryan, made it to the list because it's about being a tiny thing inside a computer. Have you ever seen a movie? This is a sidebar, Ryan, but have you ever seen a movie? It's a small little production by a little studio called Disney, and
Waterworld.
it's Waterworld. How do you know? No, Tron. I love movies and thinking about the world inside of computers. And
Look. This sounds like it's some indie movie house jam that,
Mhm.
just because I'm not a hipster doesn't mean you have to rub it in my face, Nick.
Look, I'm sorry, Ryan, but Electrolyte's your chance to get in on this inside the computer action. So it's a game about a little mote of energy inside a computer, and its wish is to find a way to the world outside.
A moat?
And
A
a
moat
mote,
of energy?
a mote of energy.
What is my familiarity with that word is a body of water outside a castle. What is this?
That is spelled entirely differently. Mote would be like a mote of dust, like a tiny little piece.
How do you spell that?
Mote.
Oh, instead of with an A and minus an E in a different place. Okay,
Correct.
I'm with you now.
You got it. All right. So this little piece of energy trying to get outside the computer from inside. And to do it, it's going to have to enlist the help of different parts of the computer, or at least understand how they work. And they'll help you find your way out to the great outside.
Huh.
Okay, Ryan, this game was developed by Weak Tea.
Weak tea sounds so creative. I love the
does.
concept behind this game.
It is also $2. So that game again, Electrolyte.
Goodness. A bargain.
They all are, aren't they?
I mean, yes.
Okay. So let's get to some catalog games. Uh,
Okay, I guess
today, today is catalog day, right? Or was this yesterday? Where are we?
one of these we're we're little motes inside a computer trying to
Apparently.
escape.
Okay. Ryan, I've been looking forward to this first game since I played a little game called Bloom by RNG
No,
Party Games.
is that right?
This
Made by the Bloom developers?
this is their next game. Yeah, it's called
Ooh,
Echoes of the Emergent, and it's by RNG Party Games.
how
It's eight
fast did
dollars
you download this game?
and immediately, and it's on catalog.
Should we all
Um,
be purchasing this for your next game of the week?
Ryan, let me tell you a little something about it. It's called uh, Echoes of the Emergent, and it's a
We haven't
kinetic
said that yet?
visual novel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, we haven't said it enough times yet. It's
Okay.
a kinetic visual novel. Do you know what that means?
A kinetic visual novel. I know a visual novel you can see with your eye holes, and kinetic means it moves. So maybe it rotates around your head as you're playing it.
Excellent question. I'm not sure, but it looks really cool. It's got a unique graphical style, and it's a little wavy looking from the GIFs. I'm very curious how this works in practice. Um, but I am very excited to play this. I really love Bloom, so uh, I'm gonna give it a shot. I bought it. It is $8 on catalog. Echoes of the Emergent RNG Party Games.
Huh.
Okay.
Your wavy description had me curious for a moment, but I think that's an apt description. It's sort of like if you look at hand-drawn animation and something's standing still, but it's drawn with multiple frames and it kind of just like wobble, 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 stays in one
Yeah.
place but wiggles a little bit. It's
Mhm.
sort of like that. So you can tell that there's time passing here, even though you might be standing still. That's a really cool effect. Way to key in on that, Nick.
Thank you. Every once in a while. Um, Speaking of every once in a while, Ryan, have you played Life's Too Short on Reflection?
Life's too short on reflection. I've not.
Okay, this was a game that was developed for the Uncranked Game Jam by Pixel Ghost.
Huh. And
Um,
already, wait a minute. The most recent Uncranked Game
yes.
Jam, like a
Mhm.
couple few weeks ago,
Yeah.
already
I
on
can't remember if
catalog.
you.
Gracious.
Yeah. Um, so this is the same game from the Uncranked Game Jam, and it is $2. However, um, $1, which is essentially all the profits that are made from each sale, is being donated to the mental health charity Mind. So that is really awesome, and it's a fun little game. It's a quick play, but it's a quick little adventure, and you play as the Pixel Ghost from Life's Too Short, and you're trying to help everybody with their problems. Very cool. Um, Thank you for uh, donating to Mind.
Yeah, very cool. Nice work, Ollie Co. Always nice to see another Pixel Jahost game. Looking forward to trying this out. Cool.
All
What else
right.
you got for us, Nick?
Well, I'm glad you asked because next up is Juggleoid. And before we talk about the game itself, I wanted to point out the header image on catalog. Um, I love these clay inspired uh, little figures that are up at the top of this. I'm a big clay art fan, and Gingerbeard Man has a lot of those. Actually, all of their games, right, have the 3D artwork that is done in a clay style.
Yeah, I believe
Um,
so. I was expecting this game to be made by him because of that, but it's not. It's made
it
by
is
Rudolph's Nick, save me.
Lasanov's,
Okay.
I I believe, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. That was not my intent. But Juggleoid is $3 on catalog, and what is it, Ryan?
Looks like you are being welcomed into the circus for some exciting adventures that await you with funny clowns. The clowns came up with a special juggling machine and call it Juggleoid. So you're using the crank to move the platform, and it seems like it's kind of similar to an Arkanoid, type game, so I'm sure that's where Jugganoid came from. Yeah, looks like a fun game.
Mm-hmm. Looks very smooth. I like the background animation. That has the opportunity to be very distracting, but I think they struck a really nice balance in that, at least from the animated GIFs. So looking forward to checking this one out.
Yeah, and if you're curious about that background of which Nick speaks, it's basically a sunburst ray that's rotating behind the action of the game. Sort of like if you were looking down at the top of a big top roof, and that's kind of rotating as you play. It does not affect gameplay, but my guess is they wanted to do that to enhance the contrast. You've basically got a series of balls hanging in the air like you would bricks on Breakout or Arkanoid or something. And they are white and black, of course, because it's the Playdate. So they probably wanted these different. My guess, my uninformed guess, is that they wanted to increase that contrast regardless of what you were looking at. White when black's behind it, black when white is in front of it, etc. Anyway, more description
That
than we
makes
needed.
perfect sense. Well, this is why it's good to have an art person on the podcast to inform, hey, that looks pretty good. Why is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I contributed
so
something.
Congratulations, Ryan. So
Right.
that's
I'll see you in
Jugganoid.
another few episodes.
Okay, that sounds good. Check back in here in a little bit. So that's Jugganoid, $3 on catalog. And then next up, Ryan, another game I've been looking forward to. Baito Fight by King of Shibuya Limited. This is from the makers of Hana, a life sim JRPG about living in an apartment complex that's infested with monsters, Ryan, just like my own.
This does look very much up your alley.
Yeah. There is something about sports involved here. I'm not really sure what the deal is. I believe combat is actually related to baseball in some way, if I understand correctly.
What? Really?
Yeah. If you check out that first animated GIF, keep on watching it. You'll see. And I believe strikes and balls are listed in the S&D
whatever the case,
section.
it's 29% off right now instead of $7.
Isn't that crazy?
You can get this for $5 whole. So
$5.
it's discounted until July 7th. So you've got 5 days from the time this podcast drops. So get over to catalog and check out Baito Fight.
Correct. And now, Ryan, the last item in this list is the catalog sale. There is a list of games which are on sale. This link will be in our show notes, as with all these other links that we've been talking about. And it includes games like Baito Fight, Summit, Noblins, Rocket Bites, Hodge Dodge, Rhoda, Super Icarus, 4-Track, Yo-Yozo, Picky Ricky, and Sparrow Solitaire. Ryan, you might recognize some of those names.
Goodness, yes.
Pick of the week.
And a bunch of them. We've done Yo-Yozo, we've done Picky Ricky, we've done Sparrow Solitaire, we've done all sorts. 4-Track. My God, Rocket Bites. Did we do that one week? I felt like we
didn't,
did,
but we've talked about it.
We sure did. Boy, howdy. Yeah. So lots of great games on sale here. Don't forget to check out the link in the show notes of today's episode. And I think that means it's time for some more boopity boop 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 skiddly doop boop 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 for the pick of the week, which is from me, and it is boop boop boop. Test Flight. Actually, no, I lie. I shorten that all the time. It's actually Mongolfier Brothers Test Flight. I always truncate that. Anyhow, the game I picked this week is Test Flight, and this is an incredible little score chaser. You are a hot air balloon being pushed along by wind turbines while avoiding obstacles. So another game mechanic that we should get straight here before we get too deep into this is that the higher your balloon goes, the slower it moves from left to right, but the lower your balloon goes, the faster it moves from left to right, and the better chance you have of encountering these wind turbines the lower you are. And the wind turbines whoosh you along at an even faster pace. Okay. So there is a countdown timer, and when it counts down to 0, your game is done. You get scores for going the farthest you possibly can. You can increase the time on your countdown timer if you hit some checkpoints along the way. Um, so get the farthest in a set amount of time, and then you're the boss. So we had a lot of fun with this on the Hello Playdate podcast Discord over the past couple weeks. We had some score chasers in there. I was posting up some scores. We had Ian Harrower Games posting up some scores. We had Dino posting up some scores. And we even had the developer of Test Flight in the room with us talking about this, which was so incredibly cool.
Mhm.
So first of all, I want to shout out to Rapcow or Doc A, however they like to be addressed. I've seen them listed as both. Regardless, this was such an incredible game. Of course, I thought so because I picked it for the game of the week. But the graphics in this game are just so uh gosh, how do I describe it? So clean, so legible, so man, it just tickled all my fancies looking at these graphics. The wind turbines are very clear, the hot air balloon's very clear. There's even this lovely reflection in the water that you see. It's that, doesn't affect gameplay, but it really enhances the believability of this environment that you're a part of. And if the graphics weren't enough to sell it, oh, Nick Baldridge, how much did you love the music that was chosen for this game? And
Oh, incredible.
and your
Yeah.
answers can only be the best or a little bit better than the best. Which one?
Incredible, not good enough. I would say even better than the best. There you go.
Oh my gosh, so agreed. So the music is this sort of like orchestral, ethereal, vibey song that has these like fluttering clarinets, and then and then there's like sort of crescendos rise and fall, and it's just so relaxing, just like gives you that feeling of floating in a hot air balloon. I just thought that music was so perfectly chosen. I wanted to call that out too. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, another thing that was so incredibly cool about having Rapcal in our Discord chatting about this game with us all this week is that we ran into a limitation of the game. So I hit this pretty early, but I didn't want to post about it because I wasn't sure if anybody was going to find it or not. And I emailed or messaged Rapcal privately about it, and then in very short order, somebody in our Discord found out about it. I believe it was Dino. So this bug that I'm talking about is basically in the version that we all downloaded 2 weeks ago. Was it 1.1, something like that? As you continue throughout the game, the speed continues to speed up, and you can achieve such a speed where you get going fast enough that you can just make your balloon rise all the way to the top of the screen where there are no obstacles, and you just keep zooming and hitting all the checkpoints before your time runs out. And essentially you could just hold down the inflate button forever and get an unlimited high score. Okay. I think I ran mine up to like 100K or something just to prove that, look, we found a way to break this thing. So after that, Rapcal, the developer of Test Flight, was super responsive. So Rapcal got in there seemingly immediately and made a revision to this game, a couple revisions to this game to make it far more playable, less breakable, less exploitable. And we had this new version, gosh, I want to say in like 24 hours or something. It was nuts. So anyhow, this new version fixes that bug and makes it so that the higher your balloon goes in the air, the slower your balloon goes. And then the closer you are to the ground, the closer you are to all those dangerous obstacles, the faster you go. Essentially, that fixed the problem and made the game so much more fun. And we were all in there striving for high scores. I think I was the first to break 5 digits, and then Dino came in and one-upped me, and then Ian Harrower Games came in there and got 11-9 or something, like something close to 12K. And then I just saw, like, moments before we started recording, because I've been in a cabin in the woods with you for the past week, Nick, that Dino achieved the unachievable 12K score. And Dino even mentioned that they bashed into something with another 5 seconds remaining, which means in all likelihood, Dino could have went a lot further than 12K. So it's possible to push this score even more. When I saw Ian Harrower's 11-9, I thought that's got to be pushing the limits, but evidently not. So anyhow, there's a bunch of my thoughts. Nicholas, what did you think about Test Flight?
Well, first, being locked in that cabin, we did survive the night, so that's important to note.
We really
Secondly,
cranked on that flashlight.
sure did, and kept the giant spiders at bay. So I have to wholeheartedly agree about the parsability of these graphics. It's really easy to see what's happening and what you're intended to do, and what is a background element versus a foreground element. These are things that frequently confuse me. I've sometimes got issues picking those elements out right away, but this game offered no such confusion. This I played in an earlier version as part of the Uncranked Game Jam, but this more this version with the bug fix that you mentioned was really very enjoyable, as was the Game Jam version. I don't have a whole lot to add other than this game is super fun, and I think that if you're interested at all in any kind of score chasing game or quick hit, straightforward game, Mongolfier Brothers Test Flight is an excellent choice.
Yeah, that sounds to me like you want me to talk more about the game, so I will. I'm really happy that you mentioned that this was part of the Uncranked Play Jam, because this game was just nutty polished for what did they have, like a week or something to build this? I couldn't believe it. And then to have that fixed so quickly in our Discord channel, very cool. Couple things I forgot to mention in my earlier diatribe was how you control this thing. Essentially, you are a little hot air balloon, and the only control you have in the entire game, the only game mechanic is pressing the A button. Boink. And when you press the A button, a little flame flickers up inside your balloon. Such a nice little touch, because the flamey part is a little bit small, but you can definitely see it when you look for it. Anyhow, you're basically pressing an A button to release flame into your balloon, which makes you rise. And then if you do not press the A button, of course, the balloon starts to descend. And it's really a fun challenge to try to have that slightly delayed action of the hot air balloon poof the flame up into the balloon, and then it rises eventually, in contrast with the potentially very speedy, quick reaction time you need for the course. Which brings me to another point that I forgot to mention too. The course is a loop. Now, it's not a short loop, so it's not going to get boring for you, but it does loop, so that if you're trying for those high scores, you can sort of get a picture of what this course looks like in your mind's eye, so you kind of know what's coming up and can anticipate those things. So a second alteration that RapCal made to this game, along with squashing that exploitability bug, was I wrote to him and said, hey, this original version that you made for the Game Jam, incredible, but I wish there was more variety. I wish there was more to see, like maybe another level or multiple levels where there's different obstacles to try to avoid. And he wrote back to me and he said, that's part of the game that I wanted there to be a loop, some repeatability, so that you can learn that and then perfect it. But as throwing Ryan a bone, he made some additional obstacles in that course. So it's not quite as short as it was in the Game Jam. It's a little bit longer. There's some more things to learn. So I am really, well, first of all, I was over the moon about the game to begin with because I picked it. Secondly, I'm even more over the moon about the game after these fixes that we had. No exploitability, longer level, more difficult to memorize, more to think about. I think these are really great additions. And by golly, I can't imagine this not getting a catalog release. It's so good. Would you agree, Nick?
I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else to say about this game?
Pick it up, play it,
Indeed.
and let us know your thoughts. In fact, some of our very own Discord members did just that, and were able to provide their feedback directly to the developer, which I think is such a cool thing that's available, not just in our Discord, of course, but it's such a neat thing about the Playdate community is that you can correspond directly with the developer and they actually read and listen to your feedback. And I think that is fantastic.
Totally.
And
That always surprises me when, week after week developers will show up and really get engaged. I mean, I always think you and I and Don are talking to ourselves here, but evidently that's not the case. So do you want to talk about what Ian Harrower Games had to say about Test Flight?
yeah, so Ian wrote, I enjoy the game. The art is super clean and good looking. The parallax and reflection sell the environment well, and the game feels smooth. When the speed gets high, my perception does break. This is something that happens to me. I feel like what's happening is my brain decides the delta is too large and I start seeing frames instead of motion. So I end up needing to shift to soft focus, which is probably what I should be doing anyway. I think there's enough here to be compelling. At first, it was just about figuring out my route. Now it's about executing it and seeing when I can take risks and push things. Overall, I really enjoyed the game. Good pick.
Yeah, this was such an interesting piece of writing to me because I feel like Ian has such an analytical brain, like to the point where he's shifting the vision focus or seeing frames versus not seeing for this broke my brain a little bit when I was reading through this. But then the developer chimed in and talked about how accurate this description was too. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I don't have that pulled up right here.
All right, that's all right. I'll give you some time to poke around to see if you want to talk about that while I read Dino's sentiments, which go like this. Dino says, I think this may be my favorite style of game for the Playdate. A few simple mechanics to learn, and then countless runs trying to perfect the execution. I enjoyed how each run moved through three phases. 1. Build up your speed as quickly as possible. 2. Maintain the velocity to increase the available time. 3. Eke out the timer as you slow by skimming the ground. Eke out the timer as you slow by skimming the ground as frequently as possible. That being said, if you're chasing the top scores, there really isn't a time during all phases when you shouldn't be trying to fly low. It's a real challenge to stay focused throughout when narrowly missing the obstacles, but highly rewarding when you achieve that continuous flow. When playing Mad City, I mentioned quitting games that I felt were leading nowhere. For me, that rule, this is still Dino talking, for me, the rule definitely applies here. And I took issue with that sentiment in Mad City, but I agree wholeheartedly for Test Flight. I found myself, Ryan, striving to achieve those very high scores, and I knew if I clocked a pyramid or skimmed a lion cage or something when I was going through these obstacles and it was real near the beginning, I was probably hosed for my high score. So, Dino, I'm with you here. Dino goes on to say, if you're aiming for those top scores and bash into a terrain halfway through a run, restart and save your focus for another go. Finally, great visuals and perfect soundtrack. Yes, indeed. Dino, thank you so much for your write-up each and every week. It's lovely to have you here, especially in the absence of Dawn. I feel like you are our third co-host this week. So thank you. And also Ian. By the way, Nick Baldridge, did you find anything else you wanted to read about Test Flight?
Yeah, so the developer mentioned that that's not just his perception, that the game is actually dropping frames once it gets going at a certain speed. So he said he was going to investigate and see why that might be happening.
I felt like Ian's description was really accurate,
Hmm.
but something that my little artist brain is not quite able to achieve yet. But maybe since he's had more development uh experience than I have and understands the nuances and limitations of this hardware system, that he was able to perceive those frame drops, whereas I'm just like, whoa, I'm going fast in a balloon and having fun. It sounds like he got it exactly right. And yeah, I'm glad that there's folks like Ian among us who can articulate things like that, whereas my little squishy brain is not. So thank you, Ian, for chiming in.
Yeah.
Cool. I
Thanks
think
everybody for playing the game and for chatting in the Discord. And thank you to the developer who.
Rapcal and Rapcal, gosh, Aru, I sure hope catalog's knocking on your door because you deserve it for this one. And with that said, that probably wraps up our pick of the week, which brings us to our next pick of the week, which is from Don. Don is not here. However, Don, in his absence, has sent us a link to a catalog game named Snecris. Stay hungry. So this is made by Dennis Schmidt, and we've talked about this on the show before, but sort of in passing a couple times. I've never played this, although I've made mentions that I should, and now I have no excuse not to. This is a $4 game. It's available on catalog. We'll have the link in today's show notes. And I wanted to mention that we typically record fortnightly, every 2 weeks. This is an anomalous gap between episodes. While we will still release episodes the next fortnight in 2 weeks from now, we're actually going to record in 1 week. So if you would like to get in on this Snecris thing and maybe leave some thoughts for us, please do so in the next week. That would make it, what day would that be? Today is July 2nd. So that means by July 9th, if you want to chime in on our Discord and get your name read on air, that's the date to do it by, July 9th, even though our next episode will air on July 16th. Okay. Okay. So, hey, Nick, Don's not here, so we can talk all about ourselves. Can I tell you a little something? Well, here it comes anyway. My next book is here. It's here. This
Really?
is a book that I've been working on for 5 years. I think I
Ryan,
mentioned this in November. Yes?
is this an art book?
Yes, it's an oversized hardcover art book featuring 20 years of my work in comics, illustration, and design, and it's got a heavy emphasis on process. So pulling back the curtain, showing you how each of these pieces were made. And it's not just comics and illustration. I've designed things like neon signs and watches and pinball plastics and cross stitching. And I know that all sounds unrelated, but in my mind, it all comes back to this medium of comics, which
Mhm.
I see as this like custom puzzle solving experience. And for each of those, I have these thoughts running through my head. Anyway, this book is here. I've been working on it for the past 5 years, 20 if you count all the work that's inside it. And it's here, it's big, it's beautiful, and it's ready to be digested.
Ryan,
And
Ryan,
yes,
how many pages is this book?
260 pages.
And how many are blank?
I do not appreciate that question, Nick. No, there's no blank pages. Every single one of
That's
them is full.
260 pages of artwork?
Yes. 260 pages of artwork, over 500 images in the book itself. And if that weren't enough, you can go to onebiteatatimebook.com to purchase it. And just yesterday, I announced the 2024 One Bite at a Time book launch tour, which is going to be happening for the latter half of 2024. So I'm going to be doing in-person stops in the United States. I'm even throwing in a few online tour stops. So if you're unable to get to the stops where I physically am with the books, you can also take part in this. So I'm going to leave a link in the show notes of today's episode directing you to that book tour announcement. I'll stop short there. Nick, did you want to plug anything?
Very cool. And I'm looking forward to reading my copy, Ryan. Thank you for making this book. And it's very exciting as a longtime consumer of your artwork. That's a weird thing to say. It's really exciting. Yeah, it's delicious. It's really exciting to see the behind the scenes, the process. You've really got me addicted to that, especially when it comes to art. And that's informed some of my work as well. So it's really helpful, and it's always interesting to hear from people who are making creative things and how they do it. And it's one of my favorite things. And it's really exciting to me to be able to see all these examples of your work. 260 examples with multiple images on some pages. That's insane. Of your artwork from 20 years. So you can see the progression of Ryan's artwork for all this time. And as somebody who's commissioned a lot of artwork from you,
you'll have some commission pieces in the book.
I'm very excited to see that in the flow along with the other projects. Some of the commissions that I commissioned were in the middle of other projects, and so you had to juggle deadlines and everything with everybody to make sure that everybody was satisfied at the appropriate time. As a freelance, anything that's always super challenging, and so just seeing how you've arranged it in the flow of things is going to be really interesting to me too.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for making cool stuff. I do have a plug though.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You ready? Okay. This is quick. I did not make a book about 20 years of artwork, but here's what I did. I just put out my company newsletter, which I put out quarterly. And in it, I talked about starting up a stream where I'll be streaming games for the pinball platform that I make. And it is going to be streamed on all these different services. But another thing, which I didn't put in the newsletter, I also hope to be able to stream Playdate stuff. So with the setup, I can also stream over Mirror some different Playdate. And you can see how poorly I play games in real time. So that's something I would like to get more into as I start to really seriously develop the Playdate game that I'm working on. More about that later. But at the moment, just wanted to let you know that's a thing.
Man,
there you go.
Gant, Destination Playdate. Watch your back. Nick Baldridge coming at you.
Not at all.
Coming in hot for the streaming.
I wouldn't say that, but I am excited to be able to communicate across audiences. I'm looking to expand audiences in this way. So maybe you see something cool on the pinball side, maybe see something cool on the Playdate side.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed watching your streams in the past, so I'm sure this is going to be a more regular form of enjoyment for all of us. So Nick, I wish you well, and don't forget to put a link to that in the show notes for today's episode. Don't forget that this is essentially your last chance to get a Hello Playdate podcast t-shirt. We'll have a link for that in the show notes of today's episode. You have until the end of July 4th, 2024 to order one, and then you're just going to have to wear your FOMO shirt and wish that you had pre-ordered. So until then, you can find us at playdatepodcast.com or on your platform of choice. We've got some Discords along with a bunch of social meds. We're on the Instagrams at Hello Playdate. We're on the Twixters at Hello PD Podcast. We're on the Blue Skis at Hello Playdate social, and a Mastodon, Hello Playdate Podcast, Threads, Hello Playdate, and Skiddly, I think that's, you can email Don, helloplaydatepodcast@gmail.com. And please, somebody else call that Bingo's tip line. This is now converted from a Bingo's tip line into a Playdate tip line, where you call us at 724-BINGOS1. That's 724-246-4671. And you can leave us an audio message that we just might play on our episode. Okay? So I think that does it. Nick, do you have any pithy words for sign off today?
Not pithy, but I do have another 20-minute pitch if you're ready.
Boopity boop boop. Bonus portion of the episode.
No, it's not. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Talk to you later.
Skiddly boop boop. Boop 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 boop.